Hi all, welcome to the today's sessions. In today's sessions, we are going to create a virtual service using Node.js and Mountebank. So the prerequisite to create that virtual service programmatically is Node.js installed on the system, GitBash installed on the system, and then for the editor perspective, we need to install either Atom or VSCode. And to test the virtual service, you can use either Talend API testers or you can use Postman. Now, the step one, which is the initial setup. So I have already created a folder, MB demo, okay, and in that folder you need to just use GitBash, okay. Just waiting a couple of seconds. Yeah. Now from the GitBash, just write npm init. So it will going to create an npm project. Now the package name, let's say MB demo. Fine. Demo on bank virtual service. And yes, test command, let it be keyword. Same it is. After this, it is. Say yes. Okay, now you can see this package.json is created. Let me quickly open it in Atom. You can also open it in a VS Code if it is installed in your system. So idea is to create a simple hello world for service virtualization service using it, and we'll hit that virtualized service from Talend API testers and see whether we are getting that response or not. Now you can see the project is open in Atom. Now the next thing we need to do here is we need to create a simple folder. Okay, so let me create one folder here. Now inside this jar cell, let's create index.js. Okay, now let's come to the package. First thing I need to do is simple update in this package. So under test, let me write node src index.js. So our code will start from the index.js and the command is test. Okay, now let's quickly open once again. Now we need to install MounteBank here. So the simple command is np npm install save. Okay, so it will install the MounteBank to this project. Let's wait a couple of seconds to be installed. Now as you can see, The MounteBank is installed. Let me open uh, the atom once again. So here you can see the dependency MounteBank 2.3.3 version is installed from npm install command that I have used earlier. So npm install command. Now the next step is I have already created a document for it. You can follow this document, and it is published in Medium. So the next step is creating a setting file. Okay, to create the setting file, first let me open editor once again, and within the src folder I have to create this setting.js. Okay, so let me grab this code. Okay, so oh, the setting.js actually will be used during the creation of MounteBank instance. So basically what will happen when the MounteBank instance will create. So what I want is that it will start listening at the port 600, and the service that I'll create, the virtual service, that will listen to 6001. Okay, so that next time I want another service, then I can simply add here, and that will listen to port, let's say 6002, and the port 6000 is where the MounteBank will listen. Now coming to the next step, which is building the initialization script. So in this step, we are going to add the code on the index.js, and that starts an instance of the MounteBank, and the index.js will be the entry point of the application. That is, when we run our app, this script will run fast. That is, the code in index.js will run fast. Let me grab this code and open the index.js and paste it here, save it. Now if you look at this first line, which is require MounteBank, so it imports the MounteBank npm package that we have installed earlier. Now the second line, it will again import the setting.js, where we have defined the ports, and the third line, which will start from the line number 5, it will create the MounteBank server. So mb.create is the command to create the MounteBank server. So this server will listen to the port which we have defined earlier, that is 6000. Now you can see the pid file, log file, and the porto file are the parameters for the files that MounteBank uses internally to record its process ID, specify where it keeps its log, and set a file to load the custom protocol implementations. And you can see another parameter into it, this IP whitelist, that specifies what IP addresses are allowed to communicate to the MounteBank server. So in this case, we use the star. It means we are open to any IP address. Now coming to the step 4, which is building a MounteBank client. So as you know that MounteBank communicates using a REST API. So in this step, we are going to create a MounteBank client, which will act as an intermediate between the MounteBank server, which is listening at 6000s, and the imposters. So the virtual service what we are going to create, which is nothing but an imposter. And since the server is listening at 6000s, so this MounteBank client will act as an intermediate, which will get hold of that imposter and post that imposter to the 6000 port to the MounteBank server, so that it will create that virtual service. Okay, so in this step, we are going to create that MounteBank client. To create the client, we need Node fetch library, And to install the node fetch library, we need to just grab this piece of code and need to run it from GitBash the way we did for installing node Mountebank. Okay, let let it install, and the next step, we need to create a file called MounteBank-Helper.js. Okay, let me copy it and create that. Okay, now again coming to here, let me copy this piece of code. Okay, save it. Let's see whether, yeah, it is installed. Let me quickly go to, yeah, you can see it is installed and as a dependency to the project. Now coming back to this helper, which is nothing but a um, intermediate helper class or a client which act between the server and the imposter. Okay, so in the first two lines we simply call this node fetch library and the settings. Now in the line number 5 we define the URL. In the URL we give the path of the Mountebank server, which is for us listening at 6000. So this line is will get that port number. And now from now at this piece of code, what we are doing is we are doing a post request with a header type as a JSON, and in the body, which is in the format of JSON, we are posting the imposter to the server. So in the next step, we are going to create that imposter. In step 5, we are going to create our first mock service. So that is hello service. And to create that hello service, let me first create a file hello service.js. Okay, let me copy this and then copy this piece of code. Now, as you can see here, we are calling this Mountebank helper that we have created in earlier step and the setting. Now, if you look at this add service function, so here you can notice it has three constants defined here. The first one is the response, second one is the start, and the next one is imposters. So basically, we are trying to create a imposter in this step. Now, if you look at this imposter constant, then you can notice here it has a three variables. First one is defined as setting setting.hello service port, which is nothing but the port number where this imposter is going to listen, as we have defined already in the setting, which is going to listen in 6001. Now imposter also required to define the protocol. So you can see we have defined this protocol as HTTP, and we need a stubs. So as we know, every imposters compose of a one or more stubs. For in our case, the stub, which is defined here as a constant, and the stub compose of predicates and response. So predicates is nothing but the conditions or conditions to trigger the response. Now here you can see in this case the condition is the HTTP method should be get and the path is slash, then only this response will revert back by this virtual service or the imposter. Now here this, if you look at this response, then you can notice here the status code is going to respond back is 200, header is content type JSON, and as a body you can see it will response, and which is nothing but message colon hello world. Now if I come little bit down, now here you can see this method add service is going to return helper.postImposter. Now helper means the client we have created, okay, and it will call this method postImposter. If I go here, this helper, you can see this postImposter function which is accepting the body, okay, and in the body we are passing the imposter, and ultimately this helper is going to post this imposter body we have created to the MB server. Now to complete this code, we need to call this add service to index.js. To do that, first of all, I need to copy this code, hello service, okay, and then I need to copy this piece of code. Save it. Now, what happened when this instance of MounteBank is created? Then it execute a promise, and to fulfill that promise, it will execute this piece of code. Okay, when this piece of code is called, eventually it is going to call this add service. So at this point, let me start our virtual service. To start the virtual service, we need to simply run npm test. Okay, so it is going to start our virtual service. So npm test will eventually, if you look at the JSON file, you can see the npm test will eventually call this node src index.js, which is nothing but this one. And here you can see the MounteBank virtual service instance that we have created is already up. So here you can see it is up and listening at 6001. Okay, now let me open Talend API testers. So here I'm going to do a GET request to our MounteBank server, that is which is at our local server, and the virtual service which is listening at 6001. Okay, so let me do a send request. Now I give a send request and you can see I'm getting this message hello world. Okay, so it means the virtual service is up and listening. Okay, and here you can see that it has received one GET request. Now coming back to the code once again. So when my code starts, it starts from the index.js, right? In index.js, it will first create an instance of the MounteBank server, and which is a promise. And to complete the promise, we are going to call this add service. Okay, so this add service is a part of our hello service, and you can see this add service method. So this method will return the return this return the but prior to return it is going to call this imposter, and an imposter which is going to call this define first the port, then protocol, and staff as a part of staff, this constant. And you can see the composition of the staff. Here it has a predicate and the response, and in the response this it is a constant, and the value is the message colon hello world. Okay, now it is going to, the return statement is going to execute the helper class and call this method. Okay, and this post imposter method of this helper class, as you know, right, it is doing a post call, and post call to where? It is doing the post call to MB server, which is listening at 6000. And where the 6000 is defined, it is defined in setting.js. Okay, and where our hello service port is also defined here. Okay, so eventually this method return that imposter and which is listening at 6001. And now you can see here it is listening at 6001, and where we are, when we try to hit that imposter, that is a HTTP request. Okay, and this is a method is get and the path is slash, then we are getting this hello world, right? As you have seen, this is how we have created a very simple hello world virtual service using MounteBank and Node.js. In next couple of video, I'm going to create complex real life virtual service. Thank you.